Well, hello and welcome back to the Commonplace. My name is Autumn and I have begun another series unintentionally. This is sort of my second installment, volume part, I'm not sure, to how books help me mother. It was a video I made year and a half ago, I want to say. We'll see the timestamp when I put it up for you. And I was talking about how reading books gives me ideas that I kind of mash together and form a new way to do something in motherhood. And that was one of probably the best videos I made in terms of people's delight, enjoyment, reaction. It seemed like people really liked how I talked through how I take something from a book and turn it into something I do in motherhood. And it's not like I do this all the time with a brand new idea every single week. It's not even something I intended to make a series for. It's just, oh, I read things, they change me, I put them into practice, right? And so I'm back to talk about another one that I've been doing for the last month or so, a little bit over a month at this point. And it's kind of a fun one. And I also get to talk about a new series that I really enjoy. And so I'm gonna kind of tie this into my home librarian series, give you guys a great book to enjoy over these next couple weeks of holiday season when maybe you have more time to read, you're moving at a slower pace, you can put them on your Christmas list really quickly, that sort of thing. And so I am here to share a new idea, and it's all because of these books right here. The rest of them are upstairs somewhere. I have two more upstairs, but the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. If you have not heard about these, you are welcome. That's really the only thing I can say. I just found out about these. Someone, she's in Common House, but she also left it on YouTube to be kind to the general population. When I made my books that I read in the postpartum video, said, hey, I love this series. They're perfect for the postpartum. And I will just say, I get a lot of those types of comments, right? Like, oh, you might like this book, or oh, have you heard about this person? And I do try to look them all up, even if it's a brief look up to just kind of try and get it in my mind for the future. I do try to look up everything that you guys offer because I'm offering you something. When you offer me something back, I say thank you to you. And so she wrote about these and I was like, I've never heard of these, no idea what this series is, but I typed it in, read the description, immediately saw this line that it was something like for readers who love P.G. Wodehouse and Jane Austen, which how often do I talk about P.G. Wodehouse and Jane Austen? It's me. You're speaking to me, person who wrote this copy. And so I thought, great, I'm gonna order the first one. It looks pretty short. So essentially these are a woman's diaries, right? These are volumes to her journals. And Emma is a young lady who has just moved back to London to her, in a sense, ancestral home. It's her inheritance, this house. She has a very devilish sort of older cousin who has been inhabiting the home and is still there. She, of course, has two helpers in the home. One she does not enjoy, the other one she does. And there's just a cast of characters in this small town that she lives in. And they have these funny traditions and these funny ways of responding to things, and they all participate in these funny little rhythms and liturgies to the year. And she does write with the wit of a Jane Austen and with the sense of humor of a P.G. Wodehouse. And so you could read them very quickly and easily as a mother, right? Yes, they're written like journal entries. So sometimes it's just a couple of lines on a page, and other times she's telling you a story. But they have delighted me to no end. I have tried to pitch them to everyone in every video, every live call, every written piece of anything within Common House. I have been telling everyone they need to read these books. I've also let the woman who originally let me know about them that she has ruined me. My husband wants to know why these color-coded books are arriving on my doorstep every 4 days. I am buying them for friends. I am giving them out to people. Everyone needs Emma, is my point. Now, why am I talking about Emma and how do books help me mother? Because Emma's diary gave me an idea. So a little over a month ago, I'm reading Emma. I text my friend with whom I have the best mom's book club ever. And I'm like, hey, we're ditching the book that we are supposed to be reading, that you are reading, that I have not started. We are ditching that book and we are reading this book instead. And she was like, game on. If you're wondering how to have a good book club as a busy mom, you find another mom and you just pick a book, you read it. Occasionally you text each other about it, or when you see each other, you randomly mention what you're reading, even if you're not in the same area, because there's no schedule to this. You're just reading the same book at the same time. And then at the end, you meet while your kids play and you talk about it. That's my book club. But you do need a friend who, I will say, this friend of mine also likes to play. So Emma has a very playful and witty tone to her writing. That's partly why we love Emma. I have noticed that my friend and I are both now writing text as if we are characters in these volumes. And so when I'm talking to my friend about this book, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna pitch you a theory here. I think that the way we tell the stories of our lives shapes how we view our life. It shapes who we think we are in the story, what we think is happening around us, how we perceive the people in front of us, what role they play to us and to each other. It is important to note the story you tell yourself about your life. In fact, I have an interview with Tish Oxenrider, which I will link above, from season 4 of my podcast, when it was all about storied souls. And we talked about this, how the narrative you tell through the habits you have shapes your life. You need to be mindful of what story you're telling yourself. So I'm going to post that for more like a philosophical discussion about why that's important. But I'm talking to my friend, like, I'm curious if this would work as a mother with a diary. All of this because my friend said, why do I feel like I'm reading your diary when I read this book? I'm even hearing it in your voice. And it made me laugh because no, my diary is not this much fun, but I could make it this much fun. So I decided to set out for about a month, and I'm going to write down every day the little bits of my life that happen. Little stories, could be about one kid, all the kids, me, my husband, a friend at church, anything, right? But I'm gonna write it in the tone in which I would like to see the world. So for some, it might be you want to write in your Emma Lyon voice. For others, it could be your Louisa May Alcott voice. It could be your P.G. Wodehouse voice. It could be your Jane Austen voice. It could be your Gerard Manley Hopkins voice. I've talked about how I would love to see the world the way Hopkins or G.K. Chesterton sees the world. I think the habit of truly writing out the stories, like they're true stories, you're not making things up, writing them in the voice of the person whose eyes you wish you had, it might do something in the way you view your life. So that was my hypothesis, and I decided every day, at the end of each day, just to write down a couple of things and see if that did happen. I'm gonna say it does work. I'm gonna say that I ran a science experiment and it did work. I had my hypotheses, I ran it. The control is, I don't know, the other years in which I've kept a journal and I'm comparing it to those. And I'm gonna say that it does help you see your life in a slightly different shade. It's still your life. These are still true stories. I didn't make up new stories. I didn't make my children into people they're not. I just tried to engage with our life in the retelling by giving it a bit of conviviality, a bit of a twinkling eye, a bit of a sense of humor, like the good sense of humor, like an Edith Nesbit, the way she talks to children, right? I was pulling together all these authors and then trying to imitate them in the way I told back the story of my day to myself. I think it works. Now, I did tell my friend to try, and I have not heard from her if it worked. So friend, if you're watching this, you know it's you. Text me and let me know if it also worked for you. But I think that's a fun way to add in a bit of how books help me mother. If you read the authors, if you have the characters, and you want to see the world the way they do, imitate the way they see the world. For an example, because I think giving an example is helpful, my children are allergic to shoes. They have some sort of genetic issue where they are not able to put them on. They just can't remember. And so I have posted on my beautiful front door, I've posted a hideous piece of computer paper with hastily written, "Do you have your shoes on?" and taped up with masking tape. It's an eyesore, to be sure. And they look at it as they run past the door without their shoes on. Because I have normal children. I am working on normal habits with my normal children. And they are just too excited to go out and be. So as I record this into my daily journal entry, rather than be like, why don't the kids listen to me? Because you could take a story like this. They disobey. They don't listen to me. They don't care what I say. They're just trying to make a mess for me. Why can't they put their shoes on? I don't understand why it's so hard. You could take that route. Or you could talk about it, which is what I did. Like I'm engaged in a very long war. A very long war in which I have marred the beauty of my front door. It sounded more clever when I wrote it. I can't quote myself. I don't want you to read my diary. But I talked about how my children essentially think they've won, right? But I'm going to ultimately win this war because I have all these battle plans. And as I was writing in this more funny, humorous way about it, I felt a little bit lighter about it, was able to put it into context of like, this is a very minor habit we need to work on. Yes, I need to hold my children accountable to this. I understand you can let little habits run wild like weeds. But ultimately, I, in the funny vein of writing, came up with a number of very fun ways to ensure that their shoes are going on. And it just shifted the view of a thing that could be, you know, as a mother, those things that you're like, I just keep saying the same thing over and over again, can kind of grate on you at some point, depending on the day. Instead, added a bit of life to it. I was able to see it like Emma might see it. And so I just encourage you, while you've got maybe some extra time over the next couple of weeks, maybe school is going to go on break in the next 3 or 4 weeks, and you are going to have a couple weeks off, maybe grab a notebook. Maybe think about, who do I love to read? What characters do I wish I could be? How do I want to see the world? In which ways do I not see the world that way? And then sit down and just spend, 5 to 15 minutes at the end of the day writing out true stories of your life, trying to do it in the voice of those authors or of those people, and see what happens. So maybe this will be a series now, How Books Help Me Mother. But I, again, will say books are some of my very dearest friends. The women therein are some of my favorite people to try and imitate. and I have had a lot of fun with this trial. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep doing it. It's actually been a really lovely exercise, and I've looked forward to that end of day sort of recollection of the day. I also think it's a lot easier, this is a total side note, a lot easier to keep one diary in which you write little stories from every day instead of keeping up with those childhood history books, of which I have 4. One is completely empty, 2 are relatively empty, and one's decently filled out until about 3 years, right? And so like all people, it's a baby book, but they go for 18 years. I can't keep up 4 individual books like that, but I could keep a daily diary where I just write down a couple of the stories of the day, and that kind of is a catch-all for all that, I think. I don't know, older moms advise me if I'll regret that, but I think that's where I'm gonna land right now. So with that, I leave you. I will be back next time to talk about Soulcraft Friday, and then we'll very nearly be near the end of the year. Very nearly near the end. That's where we're gonna be. All right, I'll see you next time.